Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the program. And this is an episode I think you're really going to enjoy, because I'm going to be talking about a movie that's about people. All kinds of people. Regular people, slime people, and that's pretty much it. Now, what exactly are slime people? Well, here's some shots of the slime people in action, and take a good look, because these costumes look great, and they should, because they were very expensive. How expensive? Well, apparently they took up over half of the film's budget, which led to the movie running out of money 9 days into shooting. So in order to finish the film, the cast worked for free. It's The Slime People from 1963. The producer of this movie said he never got paid, and neither did the stuntmen playing the slime people, which really sucks. I mean, imagine not getting paid because the costume that you had to wear in order to play the character was too expensive. So let's take a look at the poster, shall we? It's kind of interesting, especially this arrow right here that says, "Put your ear here. Learn the secret to save your life." Now, I don't know if they had some sort of a gimmick where they attached a speaker to the back of the poster or something. Seems unlikely. Who knows? Maybe they just wanted to see how many people would actually walk up and put their ear up against the poster. Anyways, the movie starts with Tom, a pilot, trying to fly into Los Angeles, but he's having trouble seeing out the window. And he's like, damn, I know LA is notoriously smoggy, but this is crazy. So finally he lands, but notices that his plane has some slime on it. Every pilot's worst nightmare. Okay, maybe it's not a pilot's worst nightmare, but it's gotta be up there. I mean, who wants to find slime on their airplane? Would you want to find slime on your car or your bike? Yeah, didn't think so. I don't like finding anything on my car. Bird poop I'm willing to accept because, shit happens. But slime? That just raises so many questions, and there are no good answers that would make me feel any better about it. Tom can't find anybody at the airfield, so he uses a payphone. And for those of you too young to know what that is, let me explain. It's basically like a bacteria closet. Unbelievably unsanitary. There's just no telling what went on inside of that booth before you got there. It's a germaphobe's worst nightmare. And I'm not exaggerating this time, I'm serious. And if you find slime inside of a phone booth, or ooze, or any type of liquid, really, just burn the whole thing down to the ground. Or if the option is available to you, nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Suddenly, a car pulls up, and the man in the back seat seems very friendly.
Oh, where did you drop from?
I'm Professor Galbraith. These are my daughters, Lisa and Bonnie.
What's going on here?
Oh, get in, Mr. Gregory.
See, now normally I would say this is totally unrealistic dialogue. I mean, who would pull up in a car next to a stranger and say, "Hey, this is my name, and these are the names of my daughters. Get in." But then again, maybe people were just much more honest and trusting back in the 1960s. Maybe it's just the age of skepticism that we live in that makes me say, no, this is way too weird. I wouldn't trust this at all. These people are lying to get you to let your guard down. And then the next thing you know, you're tied to a street post with your clothes missing, and they're taking Polaroid pictures of you to show their friends and have a good laugh. And there's no reason for it. There's no explanation. They didn't want sex or money. Some people just want to watch the world burn. That's one scenario. So they agree to take Tom to their laboratory. Again, kind of sus. In the car, Tom wants to know just what the hell is going on, but then completely regrets asking that question when Bonnie tells him that the slime people took over and built a big wall. But it's okay because her dad is going to fix everything because
he's a science professor.
Well, that's about the way it is.
So the professor goes on to tell Tom all about the slime people and how they've covered the city in a dome of fog. Okay, I'm telling you right now, if it was me in that situation, I am opening the car door, tucking and rolling, and hoping for the best. And I know you think that might be a little too extreme, that I'm too judgmental, but even Tom wants to get the hell out of there.
Oh, no, now, wait. Would you kind of let me out right here?
So the professor is like, look, the slime people have destroyed all this stuff, and they've been living underneath us this whole time.
Have you ever seen these slime people?
No, not yet.
So before I go any further, I have some questions. Where was Tom coming from? I mean, he's originally from LA, so you mean to tell me during the short period of time that he was gone, he had no idea that something was going on in his city, like a war with some slime people? Just feels like somebody would have reported on it. You know, word would have gotten out somehow. I know in the movie they try and say, oh, well, the fog prevented any kind of radio message from getting out. Come on. At some point, somebody from outside of Los Angeles is going to notice, hey, how come nobody can get in or out of Los Angeles? What's going on there? Anyways, they see a car with some dead people and they find a spear, the trademark weapon of the slime people, which is just insanely disappointing to me. I thought they would use a much cooler method, like covering people in slime, kind of like a Nickelodeon type thing, or the Blob. Tom is like, holy crap, this whole idea of the slime people makes total sense now. For some reason.
Seeing those men back there, I'm ready to believe.
Yeah, I mean, before, I thought you were just talking out of your ass. But after seeing those dead people in the car and that spear, well, I just don't see how it can't be slime people. So Tom suggests that they go to the television station where there's bound to be some footage of the slime people. And I just gotta point out, Bonnie seems way too excited this whole time. Like, what is there to be happy about? There are literally monsters roaming the streets, killing people with spears. Does this seem like fun to you? So they get to the TV station, and how convenient. There's a newsreel about the slime people, which features this doctor talking about how humans have been doing extensive underground testing of nuclear weapons, and that's forced the slime monsters up from the sewers. Okay.
We have been doing extensive underground testing, new weapons and nuclear devices. They have been forced by us to seek shelter above ground. That is why we have fog.
But how do they make fog?
I really don't know.
Okay, so the fog has hardened somehow, and people are being trapped in the fog, and apparently there's a fog wall.
It can't be. It's hardened. The fog is hardened. Somebody get in here, quick.
Honestly, believe it or not, my biggest problem with this movie is that in a bunch of scenes, it is almost impossible to see what is going on. Suddenly, someone breaks into the TV station, but it's not the slime people, it's a pair of drunk looters throwing things at them. And what's funny here is Tom punches one of them, and suddenly everybody acts as if they're no longer a problem.
Who are they?
Looters, after our money or... Tom, they're not our problem now.
Well, let's get to Studio One. It's got double doors. Hurry up.
And I'm just gonna say it, I think this is a huge mistake. What you wanna do is you wanna convince the drunk guys to come with you. That way, if you run into some slime people, you can use the drunk guys as a distraction while you escape. Is it manipulative? Yes. Is it cruel? Maybe. I don't care. It's the end of the world. I'm in survival mode, people. It's just like they say, if you're getting chased by zombies, you only need to run faster than the person who's running next to you. Then they run into a slimy person, but they can't tell if it's actually one of the monsters. I mean, they are in Hollywood after all. So they run into the studio and the professor is like, here, I'll use this fire extinguisher on it. Not sure if that's gonna do what I want it to do, but apparently it works. This is where they meet Calvin, and Tom thinks that maybe they can get a message out with the TV cameras.
Are we going to be on television?
Bonnie, goddammit, do you understand what's happening? I mean, you saw the slime people, they're right outside the door. They want to murder us. And you're just like, oh wait, I'm gonna be on TV? So the professor is like, all right, we gotta get our hands on every chemical that we can to try and penetrate the fog wall. And Cal is like, all right, I'll take first watch of the door while everybody sleeps.
I couldn't sleep.
You know what you should do? I think I saw a bottle of whiskey in the control room. You take a few shots of that, that'll put you right out.
I'd rather stay with you. Don't you want me to?
Well, actually...
Well, then it's all settled.
Okay.
You're so brave. I mean, fighting and everything.
No, I'm not, actually. I've just been hiding out in this studio for... who knows how long. It's got to be weeks now. I don't know what time it is. I don't even know the date.
I had lots of dates, but there was no one special.
That's actually not what I, You know what? Why don't you go back over there and try to get some sleep, you know? Maybe you can get to sleep now because you've been talking to me and I'm so boring. Yeah, let's try that.
No.
It's just that I'm actually feeling kind of uncomfortable right now, and I think I'd just like some time to myself.
I don't think so.
Okay. So the professor comes up with a shopping list of chemicals that they need to get, and I guess Tom is like, okay, I'm just gonna make out with Lisa now.
Penetrating that wall may prove to be a very valuable experiment.
You want to like being the daughter of a scientist?
Well, it's not dull.
Is it just me, or does it seem like the characters aren't really grasping how serious this situation is right now? I mean, I wish I could be this relaxed. These characters just don't seem to be that worried at all. What's the secret? Did everybody in the 60s just have a solid 2 drinks in their system at all times as a baseline? I am so much more anxious than any of these characters every day of my life. And I don't have to worry about a bunch of sewer monsters trying to impale me and everybody I care about with a rusty stick. So they start driving out to the wall, and on the way they stop in front of this guy's house.
He's a great writer, but the biggest troublemaker I've ever known. Besides, I think he's a potential psycho.
All right, look, just because this guy is walking around carrying a goat doesn't make him a psycho. There could be plenty of good reasons why he's doing that. Like maybe the goat's legs don't work. Or maybe Norman is just really close with his animals. There's nothing wrong with that. To a certain degree.
I say, are you driving this old worn-out heap?
It goes, Tolliver.
I like how Tom gets so defensive about it. Like he just talked about how this guy most likely has serious mental problems, and yet he takes what he says so seriously. Like, yeah, well, it runs, Tolliver, and it's paid off. Well, what about your goat? Does your goat run? Yeah, apparently not. Anyways, they all drive out to this spot, and the professor is like, somewhere in there is the fog wall. I don't know how he knows this, but whatever. I guess they have some kind of a meter for something. None of this is explained. They try some potassium on the wall, but I guess it doesn't work, and the professor is like, damn it, there's thousands of chemicals. How will we ever know which one will work? I guess we should have brought more than 2. The slime monsters arrive, and again, the movie turns into a foggy mess. It's really hard to stay interested in the story when you can't really see what's going on. They find a butcher shop that conveniently has the back door open, so they go inside and lock it. But even that isn't enough to keep the slime people from breaking in. Not with those prices. So they run into the meat locker and close the door, leaving poor old Norman Tolliver out there to die fighting the slime people.
Now let's get one thing straight. Tolliver is dead. He had the same chance for safety that we all had. Fear killed Tolliver.
Yes, it was fear that killed him. All right? I mean, that's what you say if anybody asks. I mean, you all saw what happened. I held that door open for a good 5 Mississippis, at least. What? I had to do it, otherwise the slime person was going to get in. I totally didn't do it so that he'd be left out there to die because I was still pissed off that he insulted my car. Okay?
Remember, keep cool.
See, now that's why you need that guy in any type of survival situation. I mean, they were almost killed. A member of their group just suffered what I imagine was an agonizing death. And yet, this guy is still making puns. Now, some may say that that's inappropriate. I say, sometimes laughter is the best medicine. And you never know unless you try. And even he knows it. He's like, damn, I made that pun at the perfect time. Calvin, you stud. So the professor comes to the realization that it's salt. Salt can destroy the fog wall. That's why Tom was able to fly through it, because he was so low that the salt water spray from the ocean created a hole in the wall. that he flew through. Cal is like, hey, Bonnie, I'm going to go find a car for us, but don't tell the others that I've left. I don't want anyone to notice that I'm gone. I mean, how big is that meat locker? And there's only 5 of you. I'm pretty sure they're going to notice if one disappears. So Bonnie is like, I want to come with you. And Cal is like, okay, because they're totally not going to notice that both of you are missing. Of course, as soon as they walk out of there, Bonnie gets abducted, and the others notice that the 2 of them are gone right away. Tom goes out there, and he's about to hit one of the slime people with his gun, but he stops himself as soon as he remembers how expensive those costumes are. They find a car and drive off to find Bonnie, and then they come up with a brilliant idea. They're like, hey, let's keep the car running and jump out of it. That way, the slime people will be fooled into thinking that we're still in the car, and they'll chase after the car that we're not in. Even though there's no slime people chasing us right now that we can see. And we could be theoretically jumping down this hill into a bunch of slime people, since they could be anywhere, and that car was our only form of transportation. But screw it, let's do something incredibly stupid. I mean, heroic. Right after they execute their boneheaded plan, they see a cave, and they're like, hey, that's gotta be where the slime people are coming from, and Bonnie's gotta be in there. Even though there's no real evidence that points to any of that, but okay. Of course, they find Bonnie, and then there's this awkward fight that is only made worse by the fact that we have this fog covering everything. So then they all go to the wall to throw salt on it. At least that's what I think is happening. I don't actually know. I can't see anything. And that's what the rest of this movie is. Various degrees of obstructed viewing, which is always fun. That's why people go to the movies, to sit there and kind of watch a movie. And it's a shame, really, because these costumes look pretty cool. It would be nice to see more of them, especially since, as I mentioned, they took up more than half of the budget for this movie. I don't know, after a bunch of fighting, I guess they find the fog machine, and the professor blows that up by throwing a spear at it, and the fog wall disappears, which kills the slime people. In the end, I have to wonder, all the death and destruction, could it have been avoided? Did anybody actually try talking to the slime people? Of course not. So I guess we'll never know. And going back to the poster for a second, it says, put your ear here to learn the secret that will save your life. And now we know the secret was salt, apparently. So what happened when people put their ear up to this poster? Spray salt at them? What? Now, would I recommend watching this movie? Probably not. It has its funny moments, but overall, it just becomes frustrating to watch because of all the fog covering the scenes. So that's pretty much it for this one. As usual, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. And if there's one thing we can take from all of this, it's that salt is pretty magical. This video was brought to you by Spiffy Salt, the only salt with the added kick of radium. Not only is Spiffy Salt nutritious and delicious in large quantities, but it can pretty much solve any problem. Are there pesky weeds growing in your backyard? Well, just mix in some Spiffy Salt into the soil and no weeds will grow there ever again. Do you have a cut or an open wound? Well, it's Spiffy Salt to the rescue. That's right, really pour it on there and rub it in deep. And before you know it, you'll be feeling the tingling sensation of healing. Of course, some experts might advise against doing any of these things and to limit your sodium intake for health reasons. But let's ask a doctor, shall we? Anything bad you've heard about Spiffy Salt is just anti-sodium propaganda being pushed by corporate fat cats and the Illuminati, probably. Now, you may have heard things like, don't eat that stuff! I ate it and I got sick! I had to go to the hospital! Well, the people who say those things are lying, because there is no current proof that consuming Spiffy Salt leads to radiation poisoning. And there never will be, because there is none. And it also begs the question, if Spiffy Salt was so dangerous, would kids love it as much as they do? I'm approximately 10 years old, and I love eating Spiffy Salt with my cereal every morning. Cool. Oh, God. Why did I choose real salt to do this? There is no good explanation for slime. Unless someone suddenly pops out and says, "You can't do that on television." It's a little reference for my fellow 80s kids out there. The movie likes to show all these people that are apparently looters. If it was me, what I would do is I'd go to my local Costco and I wouldn't loot the place. I would just live in it. Seriously, I think that's the best place to hunker down in an end of the world type situation. And just think about it. There's so much of everything you need and then some. Not just food, but furniture, mattresses, clothing, medication, entertainment, electronics. Oh, I was recording, right? Okay, good.
Some black boys, some black boys.